Hello, and how are you feeling? Welcome to episode 11 of Coaching from Not a Blue Tree with me, Gary Burns. This episode is all about rapport, its importance, and how you can effectively build rapport. Rapport is the ability to relate to and get along with other people in such a way that it builds trust and confidence. It really is that simple. Life is about many things. And one thing that permeates so many aspects of life is the ability to build relationships. This ranges from the personal and intimate to the professional, social, and commercial. Few, if any of us, can live in splendid isolation with no contact with other people. And ideally, we would want to get the most out of any contact that we do have with others. We want our social and family relationships to work well. We like our intimate relationships to be mutually rewarding. We recognise the benefits of effective professional and commercial relationships. Indeed, life is just a little bit easier if our transactional relationships in shops and restaurants, bars and banks go well. And think about it for a moment. Think about all of the people who are in or have been in your life. There are those that you get on well with, those you've had to work on, and those with whom you simply have not got along. That, for most people, applies to all relationships, no matter how long-lasting or how transient, no matter how profound or how superficial. Take another moment to think about those people where there was a connection, if not from the first moment, almost straight away. Consider those people who you've never managed to get along with, either because no matter what you did, it just didn't happen, or because you simply saw no benefit in making the effort. And then focus on those people where it took time to get to know, to build the relationship, to establish rapport. How much did you have to adapt your approach? How often did you find yourself changing your behaviour to fit in with others, understanding on an unconscious level how to do this and what you gain by doing so? And that, in many ways, is the key. On an unconscious level, we understand the benefits of building rapport. We recognise how relationships on any level and of any length function more effectively when there is rapport. We know what to do to build rapport, and many of us are excellent at doing so, employing a range of techniques and strategies, more often than not without consciously realising that we're doing so. Equally, we appreciate how a lack of rapport can make life so challenging, leading to relationships, again on any level and of any length, which are frustrating and unrewarding. So let's think about rapport in a bit more detail. Rapport is the ability to relate to others in a way which creates trust and understanding. It inspires confidence, and if you do have rapport with people, it creates a positive, trusting environment in which people want to work with you, supporting you in whatever the endeavour is, be that superficial and transient, or profound and long-lasting. Conversations seemingly flow. Silences will happen without feeling uncomfortable to you. And there is a sense of sharing what matters in the moment. And there will be that sense of being in sync, and this happens on two levels. One is on a physical level, and the other an emotional and mental one. On a physical level, when there is rapport, you find that people are showing signs of similar, if not identical, body language. People are using the same language, the same tone, tonality, and volume. Language patterns are similar, with a shared vocabulary and common understanding of the words being used. On an emotional and mental level, there is a connection. Individual experiences become shared experiences. Humour becomes a common language. And there is a collective understanding of emotional highs and lows within the group, whatever that group may be. Now, I firmly believe that rapport is one of the most, if not the most important skill you can learn. The greater the rapport, the more you can achieve. The more you will get and give in relationships, no matter what the situation. And of course, rapport happens all of the time, often without us realising that we're building rapport. It just happens, and we suddenly realise how easy it is to get along with certain people. How we appear to be on the same page, how we trust and value them, how we feel confident and valued when we're together. And the good news is that there are techniques we can learn which, when used well, can speed up the process and which allows rapport to happen far more quickly than if we let our usual unconscious processes and techniques come into play. The basis of rapport is that when people are like each other, they like each other. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to turn yourself into a carbon copy of the people you're with. Indeed, I'd like to see you try. So there are 3 key considerations when building rapport: matching and mirroring, active listening, and sensory acuity. So let's start with matching and mirroring. This is all about matching and mirroring body language, tonality, and verbal expressions, of course without becoming a mimic. For example, when I'm working with clients, I ask them to sit down first, and once they've sat down, I sit down and adopt a similar posture. So, if they cross their legs, I might do the same or simply cross my legs at the ankle rather than at the knee. Some people like to cross their arms, and this can be misinterpreted as being closed to new ideas or not being interested. So I will cross my hands over my stomach. A client may talk about their life being crap. I will ask them, following the meta model, something I'll be talking about in a future podcast, how exactly it's crap. I use the keyword they used without drawing attention to the word by saying something along the lines of how exactly is your life as you say crap. If a client speaks softly, I may lower the volume I speak at. For faster speakers, I may speed up. I once worked with a client who was very strident in his tone and always looked directly at me when he spoke. He did come across as somewhat aggressive. So, every time that I spoke, I ensured that I looked directly at him with an unwavering gaze. Not something I would usually do, as it can be seen as and feel intimidating. I took an equally strident tone, which I just dropped a notch so as not to appear unintentionally aggressive. And it really worked a treat. I've also noted that when working with male clients, that some tend to lean forward and lower their voices if they're discussing emotions and emotional issues. And when this happens, I too lean forward, maybe not as much, and I also lower my tone. The key, as I said before, is not to mimic. And make sure you mirror and match in a way which falls just below the other person's consciousness. If they change position, I will only move once they are back in the swing of what they're saying, or if I have to say something. Very occasionally when working with clients, someone may suspect that something's going on, and if this happens, I simply stop mirroring and matching and possibly do something completely different. Once the client is back into what they're telling me and their moment of suspicion has passed, I resume the matching and mirroring, although initially at a much lower level. And I'd encourage you to observe people when you're out and about, particularly if you're in a place like a bar or a restaurant where people congregate. Watch how much or how little rapport people have with the other people that they're with. Check how much matching and mirroring goes on. Hear how much shared language there is. Listen out for matched tonality and speed of speech. You really can tell a lot about people by the level of rapport. It can be even more interesting to observe levels of rapport at work. And do be mindful about your own communication. What are you revealing about yourself by your tonality and physiology? Another key aspect of rapport is actively listening. Now think about this for a moment. How often do we actually listen to other people, and I mean really listen without doing anything else? And by this I mean entirely focusing on the other person and what they're saying, with no agenda, no hurry, no desire to get to the end or an outcome. Because in reality, how often are we really listening, and how often are we just waiting for an opportunity to talk? So show that you're engaged, nod, make non-comments such as okay, and yep, and so on. And this will help with matching language. If you're actively listening, you will start to discern the key words and phrases that are important to the other person, words and phrases you can incorporate into your own speech. And this all adds to the rapport. The third aspect of rapport building is sensory acuity, the conscious ability to understand the unconscious responses of another person. And we're all making unconscious responses to the world around at all times. And it's hard work to suppress those responses, which is the reason for it being so important to understand them, as they can tell us so much about what's going on for the other person. The important consideration here, though, is being aware of those responses consciously. Because we do recognise the unconscious responses of others, except of course we do it unconsciously. And it's the reason we get a sense of people being happy, unsure, delighted, deceitful, because our unconscious mind is recognising the signs. We're just not always great at deciphering the symbolic messages from our unconscious. So if we can become consciously, rather than just unconsciously aware, the more we'll understand. Communication is made up of words, tonality, which is the tone, tempo, timbre and volume, and physiology, body language. Words only make up 7% of communication, whereas tonality accounts for 38% and physiology 55%. It's the reason that one of the presuppositions of NLP is to calibrate on behaviour. Words are fine and words are easy. What we're looking for is congruency between the words, the tonality and the physiology. And I'm sure you can think of times when the people around you have said one thing, yet they are clearly indicating something different. What you, or more precisely your unconscious mind, is picking up on is the unconscious responses, the change in tonality or body language. I worked once with someone who was very good at masking their anger, except for the fact that the muscles around their mouth tightened when they were angry. It was a real giveaway. It's that time when your partner utters that single devastating word, fine, which instantly tells you that everything is anything but fine. It is that congruency which is so important for us, congruency between the words, the tonality and the physiology. If we can pick up on the tonality and physiology, this will tell us so much more about the other person's actual state. It'll guide us to how much rapport there is, providing an indicator of whether we're on track or need to do more. Of course, as I've said before, rapport is something that happens naturally. We build rapport with people all of the time. Think about all of the people you know, partners, friends, family, colleagues. You will find that you already have rapport with them, although this is something that is evolved over time. Think about how you behave when you're together, the shared body language, the phrases, the jokes that bind you together. You'll know exactly how to communicate and maintain rapport with your best friend, your partner, your favourite colleague, your boss, and on the list goes. There will be people you know with whom you've instantly built rapport. There will be others where initially you felt reluctant and with the passing of time you gradually built rapport. And there will be people you know with whom, for whatever reason, you've not built rapport and the relationship feels very superficial and cagey. By understanding the process of rapport, how we achieve rapport and the benefits of rapport, you can speed up the process with the people in your life and achieve a high level of rapport in a short space of time. And of course, this is what you want. All you're doing is understanding what we already do with the people we know and consciously using those skills to build rapport, fast-tracking yourself and those around you to a point where rapport exists. You can use these skills at any time, speeding up the process with new colleagues, new friends, new people who come into your life. And you do this because you want to get on well with those around you, and you want to be able to work effectively with everyone at the earliest opportunity. And now imagine putting this into practice. Think about the people in your life where rapport already exists and how effective it makes those relationships, no matter on what level they take place. And now think about how, by understanding what rapport is and how you can build rapport more quickly, the difference it may make to existing relationships where rapport is limited or non-existent. Consider too how this new information may help when building new relationships in the future. Imagine being in a position where all of your relationships, long-term or transient, personal, professional, intimate, commercial, or transactional, are working effectively and in a way which is mutually beneficial. What difference does it make to you, your life, and all that you want to achieve? You now have significant information which can help you move forward into a new model of the world that you want for yourself and those around you. If you can do it now. And if you're not sure or need some help, you can always book an initial consultation on my website, notabluetree.com, and you can then work out what the next step is. And you know that it makes sense, don't you?